I thought that I would look as a failure if I got a coach, because I am a coach. We can't coach ourselves. I can tell everybody what's wrong with their life, but I can't take care of mine. It's like that. It's just such a mindset when people are like, I'm going to stop eating carbs. I'm going to start. There's so much more in here that they have to, kind of unwind going, why am I doing this? I don't think people realize the control that food has on you, and how all of a sudden you're all eating a lot and you're joking about how you're overweight and how you get to this age. And all of a sudden you realize is that none of us are happy with the way we look. And so all of a sudden my girlfriends are looking at me going, what are you doing? And I'm going, I learned how to eat.
Welcome to the Fear No Food podcast, health and nutrition stuff for us normal people.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Fear No Food podcast. I am very honored that I've got Sandy Griffin with me today. So Sandy's a motivational speaker. She does a ton of work with the homeless and has just an incredibly interesting story. And I'm honored to have said that we've walked alongside her in part of her wellness journey. And so excited to talk a little bit about that. But Sandy, you have, as you sent ahead of this, you sent me some bullet points of some of the things that you've done and been able to experience in life. And I was, you seem like you're a woman of faith and you have just this boundless energy. Every time you walk into our office, it's just like I come out of my office, I feel like it brightens up my day, brightens up my staff's day. Why don't we start? I would love to hear a little bit, if you could give us kind of the brag bio of like, what has Sandy been up to more recently, or if there's other things that you'd sent me about, some cool things that I prompt you if you don't bring them up. But tell us a little bit about Sandy to start us off.
Well, more recently, like this morning, I worked at a food bank and I'm there 4 or 5 days a week.
Okay.
And I think that my gift is working with the people that come in that feel like they don't deserve to be loved, or they've been treated their whole life like they aren't worthy. And I feel like God has just gifted me with this ability to let them know not only are they worthy, they're even more. And so I look forward to that. So going in there, and the food is just the avenue to get the people that hide in their homes and or maybe behind a bush or sleep in a sleeping bag or something, that gets them to be human, feel human again, Yeah. So I did that. I worked with the homeless.
Yeah, I think your voicemail every time I call you, you're like, "Hey, it's Sandy. Like, I'm either out doing this, or this, or helping the homeless." Like,
and what's funny about that is that when I moved to Arizona, I moved from Nashville 7 years ago, and when I moved here, I thought, you know what, I'm never home, and I really had to spend time with God, asking Him, "Am I really running from stuff that I don't want to face?" And I really came just to such a peaceful place in Him letting me know, I created you not to be in four walls. I created you to be out there. That's where your gifts are. So when I get home for a little while, after a while, all my mornings are with the Lord, and I get up real early. And then after that, I feel like He just says, okay, I filled you up, now go out and empty me onto other people, And so I'm with the homeless. If I see homeless at the side of the road, I will talk to them. I usually have stuff in the back of my car. When I go home, many times, probably 5 days a week, there's bags of clothes and toiletries and stuff that I have no idea who dropped it off. And one time a guy died, and because
people know that they know that I will.
I always tell people, don't get rid of anything. I will find a place for it. Even churches here, when they have conferences, will call me when they have the extra food and say, we have extra food. Wow. And one time I got 110 lunch boxes from Jason's Deli that were left over. And so I brought them to a place where I knew they were feeding the homeless that night so that the people could have them the next day. Well, then I had a lot left over. So I went to places where I knew that the underprivileged did their shopping. And I went in front of those stores, and as people drove up, I handed those out to them, and they asked if they could have more. They got to take as many as they wanted. And I got to be used by God and I mean, they're so appreciative to me, and it was a chance for me to give Him the glory going, I just had the car and the obedience, that's all, it had nothing to do with me at all.
So why food? Is there a specific reason that you've gravitated toward is that just because that's a base need, or is there some passion there?
There really isn't, believe it or not, even though I love food, so don't get me wrong. But you know what? So when I lived in Nashville, I worked with, my whole life, I've worked with my girls. We did 15 years of, I have 3 daughters, and we did the Special Olympics, and we did anytime there was a need, there's a soup kitchen, we're there. And then when I moved to Nashville, I went to Haiti on a mission trip, and one of the guys from Audio Adrenaline, the Christian group, I went with them, and he said, when we go back, I want you to meet someone. And it happened to be a guy that ran a homeless nonprofit. And I didn't even know what the guy did. And I said, okay, because I trusted Will so much. And so when I met him, I started going on Wednesdays and Saturdays to where the homeless ate and slept. And then I started realizing I was enjoying it more and more and more and looking forward to it. Well, pretty soon my whole garage was full of shelves with clothes and with everything that people needed. Got a nonprofit. And then I ended up with homeless men living in my home, which, if I look now, seems very unconventional as a single woman. Yeah. Wow. And what happened is John, I called him Gentle John, and he reminded me, I've never seen anyone that loved Jesus like Gentle John. And he sang worship music all the time, wore earbuds, had a horrible voice. And he'd look at me when I'd look at him when he was singing, I think I kind of recognized the words. And he'd look at me going, I'm making a joyful noise. And we'd laugh about it. So his sleeping bag got wet once. And so I said, why don't you come? He said, can I come and hang out at your house? Because they came all the time. I said, why don't you stay here tonight? Well, he stayed 1.5 years till he died. Wow. And so then one after another, I just had him on the couches. I had him wherever I could. And so they started helping me deliver things. One guy got a job in a truck. And they started delivering. If people needed furniture, I put it on Facebook. We got furniture. Wow. All cool. Week we were doing that. So that's kind of my thing. So with the food bank, I kind of got in touch with them through working with the homeless, and they needed help. And so I started helping at the food bank and realizing that it's another avenue that I was needed.
Sure. Wow. Well, thank you for that. That's what a gift to our community.
Right.
And it is sad that there's just folks who, I can't even imagine that there's still people who can't find food, right? Or have need that. And where there's so much abundance and so much waste that I see.
Thanks for listening. This podcast is brought to you by Revitalize Weight Loss and Wellness. It's unfortunate that we've been led to believe that significant weight loss results can't be sustainable, and to be sustainable, it has to take forever. At Revitalize, we've proven out through research and real-world experience that a combination of high-quality coaching, high-quality supplements, and a customized nutrition plan is really the key to seeing significant results in the short term and being able to sustain those results through metabolic empowerment over the long term. If you'd like to find out more about how we've helped over 11,000 people lose weight and keep it off, check us out at the link below or at revitalizeweightloss.com.
And so was there a motivation or a driving factor in, aside from saying hey, I want to learn how to eat, I guess, is there a connection with either your faith or your work that you're this vessel has to carry me through?
Well, there was a lot of that, but I think a lot of it had to do with my self-esteem. And I'm confident in who I am, and so much so that if people don't like me, I'm okay with it because I know deep inside I'm a good person and stuff. So then we weren't meant to be friends, and I'm okay with that. But then all of a sudden I realized that when I was getting dressed that I didn't ever look in the mirror. I put my makeup on real quick, and I would dress and wouldn't look in the mirror because my pants were tighter, and of course I had the menopause tire, and I'd see pictures of myself going, I see it on the back of my shirt with pictures, and I was cutting off pictures by my sleeves so that you wouldn't see my arms, and so so I thought, it's okay though, I look okay, but I thought, if I go out and dress up, I don't have anything where I feel like I look good. I look okay for my weight, but I didn't look good. And I didn't look, like people said, they didn't think I had weight to lose. But of course, you're wearing the bigger shirts and stuff. And then when you have a big personality like mine, I think that sometimes overpowers everything else, realistically. And so then when I started coming here, and all of a sudden things were fitting different, and I felt good, and I'm looking in the mirror, and all of it. I'll tell you, Dan, I did it for me for the first time in my life. I would say every other time I thought, you know what, when people see me, I want them to say how nice I look. I wanted the world to look at me, and I wanted to do it for the world. So I didn't tell anybody I did this. And I rented a room to a lady, and she started following the eating that I did, and it still is. And she's diabetic and got to cut down on her medicine, and she has high blood pressure, got to cut down on her medicine. And so I told her, but I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell anybody. And so 3-4 weeks went by, and then I saw one guy, and he said, I had a coat on, and he said, "You got your hair cut?" And I said, "No, I didn't." He said, "Yeah, you did." And I said, "No." He said, "Why? You look different." And that was just by seeing my face. And I said, because I said I lost weight. And then I took my coat off, and he went, well, his wife is here now doing the program. Right. And he said, "Whoa, you have." So people, and somebody else just said that. Yesterday, my cousin said, "You got your hair cut?" And I said, "No, didn't." And I thought, so they're trying to think of why I look different, you know. But it was after a while that people were saying, "You look good." And I thought, you know what? It's more about, and what my first response is, "Thank you." But more than anything, I feel good. And I didn't realize how important it was that I feel good.
Sure.
And I learned how to eat, which to me, here you guys make it so simple. And it really is. It's simple. It's like, you know, don't eat so much of that and eat more of this. And the more vegetables I ate, the more I lost. And all of a sudden it was like, it just made sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite remarkable, like what can happen to the body when you remove inflammation and start giving it what it needs.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. And your coach is here. Kudos to all your coaches.
Well, that means a lot coming from you, because you're a life coach and
I am.
a motivational speaker. So I feel like,
and I'm kind of critical too. Yeah. Even when I go to churches, I'm like, "Oh, that pastor's not very good." God, help me here. Because when I was in Nashville, I coached speakers. Yeah. I coached a lot of pastors because I was a president of the National Speakers Association for the state of Tennessee. And so I did coaching. And then I started coaching musicians on their stage presence.
Wow.
Because a lot of them had the music, and a lot of them wrote songs that you guys know. And but I'd watch them, and it was like they didn't know how to present themselves. And that can be learned. The music, the talent, not so much. And so I did that. And so because of that, and working with people, when I see people, I'm like, "Oh, they shouldn't be up there," you know, even comedians and everything, you know. So working with the ones here, I think, of course, we all have our favorites, because there are certain ones that give me what I need. Not that the other ones are bad, but there are some that somehow speak to me more for my addictions or whatever. And but they're all good, and I've just learned so much.
Yeah. So are you still coaching at all?
I am.
Okay.
I am. I do a lot of virtual.
Okay. And is it mostly for that, like, stage presence, or is it more life coaching, finding your purpose type stuff? What is it?
It's finding your purpose, but I started out doing it with women, and it was empowering yourself from within. So it was attitude, gratitude, living in the moment, humor. So I did a lot of that. And then I went to schools and did Don't Laugh at Me. So that was on bullying, even way before they made a big deal out of it. And then I went to eating disorders. And I've always been very, very curious. I love researching things, and eating disorders fascinate me. And so I do coach a lot of people on eating disorders.
What's the most common? Because I feel like a lot, like in our work, it's easy to see like, oh, that's disordered eating, but it might not be to the level where somebody would like label it. So we see a lot of things where like that you don't necessarily have an eating disorder, but that habit that you're exhibiting like is a disordered pattern.
Well, you know what?
Like what do you see typically?
Well, you know, we have the anorexic, and there are ones that a lot of times feel like they want to get thinner because they want to kind of disappear from life, and maybe no one will see them. So that's part of their emotional part. Another thing is it's a lot of people that haven't had any control their whole life. People have told them what to do. And eating is the only thing that they can control. So when you say to them, "Oh, you're so thin," how they interpret that is, I'm in control. I better eat less because I'll be even more in control. Bulimics, they have a lot of pain inside. And so in a crazy way, if they throw up, they can get the pain out. So what's inside might come out. Compulsive overeaters, their thing usually is, and this is just being very general, is you may not have been taken care of. And in our family, with all the kids and with my dad being sick, you let yourself know someone's taking care of you. You're being taken care of. So as you get full and you're eating, someone's taking care of you. And so it's all just kind of a convoluted thing that's playing with your mind that you're using food for.
Yeah.
So even here, like working with your coaches and sitting and talking about things like I was overeating, I'll say, and then all of a sudden I'll say, but you know what, this has been on my heart. And all of a sudden, and they're so good about walking me through this, the mind part, going, keep going. And I'm like, you know what? I start eating at 8 at night because that's when I settle down for the day, and the things I should have processed. And I feel like eating because I don't want to process something.
Oh, 100%.
So just becoming aware of all of that stuff, working with them here, even just processing it. And it's funny because one of them said, would you want to talk to someone else about working this on processing? And I said, no, as long as I bring it out here, I can do it myself because it's coming to the light.
Yeah.
You know, everything stays dark until you turn the light on, you know?
Yeah. That's such a big part. And it's kind of nebulous for us because we've thought many ways of like, is there a way to codify that a little bit more, just like the emotional journey? And, you know, we try with our journal and things like that, but I think you've obviously done a lot of the work ahead of time and you're a very vulnerable person to be able to bring that stuff up in a coaching session, which is, I think it's very easy to just say, well, that's a separate thing. We're just talking about food on the plate. And it's like, no, it is all interconnected. Like, and I think at least for me in my life, I know that like, it's oftentimes a barometer of my emotional health or the stress levels that I'm under or different things based on like, it's like, oh, I'm doing that thing again where I'm coming home, I'm just rushing through meals, or I'm going to the pantry and I'm just eating all the kids' snacks instead of like sitting down and having like a meal, because it's like, I'm trying to avoid something, or I haven't just let myself be. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I always tell people when you start realizing food really isn't food. And my daughter said something, she eats real clean, and she said something real smart. She said someone had told her that sometimes as Americans, we want every meal to taste so good. And they said, you know what? We have to realize that sometimes we're eating meals just because it's going to keep our body going and it's nutrition. It doesn't have to taste that great. You just have to eat it to keep your body going. You don't have to depend on that great taste every meal. And to me, that was like kind of eye-opening, going, oh my gosh, we do want everything to taste great.
Sure.
You know what I've started liking so much is that I had never eaten the pink Himalayan sea salt.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
I can't believe how much that adds to things, and it helps.
Yeah, totally. Way better than just regular table
salt. Oh my gosh. And then when they said to me once, I was drinking so much water and then getting cramps, they said, add some more. You're telling me to eat more salt?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, totally.
It was like all of a sudden you're going, that's healthy to eat more, salt like that.
Yeah, I mean, because we've been told salt's so terrible for your blood pressure and things like that. And iodized salt isn't great, but when you have like a high quality mineral salt, it's going to have all of the other stuff in it, so your blood pressure isn't affected normally, and it's super good for you.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to go to my next doctor appointment. I haven't been there, and when they weigh me, and they're going to go, you're 34 pounds less than last time. And I'm going to go, yeah, I know. Well, I saw my cousin yesterday, and he said, oh, Sandy, he said, so people don't want to tell you, say things a lot, especially guys. So he goes, your shoulders, he said, are you okay? They look so thin. I said, I've worked really hard to get rid of what was coating that. Okay. I've done it healthy. I'm doing it with nutrition and stuff. So don't worry. I'm where I want to be. He said, okay. Yeah. So I think he was just concerned. Is there a problem here? She's sick. Is she, And I'm like, no, this is all okay.
Totally. Oh, good. Yeah, it is funny. It's like, well, somebody's like, are you okay? Are you sick? It's like, no, I'm getting to a healthy weight and a healthy body. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, for the moment I met you, like this lady's got just boundless energy. Was there any changes to your energy, or has that always been? Yeah.
I've always had energy, almost too much, I would say, because I'm not a big sleeper.
Okay.
I'm not a napper, and I do have this energy. And I remember years ago thinking, God, take some of it away. Now I'm like, oh, thank you, God. Because none of my friends are like, where do you get that energy? Yeah. So no, I don't. And even during the 40 days, the stage 2, I had expected, like you're eating an 8-hour period, I had thought that I would be tired. And I never once got tired. And I was never hungry. And it just amazed me how I could. Well, so I keep which I usually kept candy in and grab that. I have a big candy bowl, and I keep the grape tomatoes in there all the time. And so at home we call it our crack. And so I walk around, and the lady living with me will say, I see you have a handful of crack. And I eat crack all day long. As a matter of fact, on the way over here from the food bank, I ate a whole container of
cherry tomatoes.
I did. There's so many different kinds. I have my favorites, and I thought, I can't believe I'm picking out my favorite little tomatoes.
Yeah.
These were the salad tomatoes, and they were so good. So I'm becoming a tomato snob.
Yeah, look at you. You're a connoisseur of tomatoes.
I am.
Sommelier of grape tomatoes.
But even in the 40 days, I have to say that people said, you can't go out to eat for those 40 days. I went out all the time.
Yeah, you can.
Because I have a lot of friends, and so they want to go out. And I couldn't believe when I would go in, get salads and say, you know what, I don't want the dressing. You want it on the side? No, I just don't really even want it, because I brought mine. And then leave off the cheese, and then I could get the chicken, I could put this other stuff in, and I ate a whole big bowl of everything, and I was as satisfied as could be. I didn't feel cheated.
Totally.
And so when people say, do you want to go out? Yeah. I'll kind of tell you where, because there's some that don't have that.
Well, I think there's like something too that's an interesting like sociological kind of case study of where it's like, it's not that I couldn't figure out how to navigate a restaurant. It's that like I might feel embarrassed, or like I remember talking to somebody and they're like, well, I can't go, like I'm taking a client out. I can't like not get the steak. I can't not get a steak and potato. I can't just order a salad. I'm like, why can't you? And it's like, well, because there's like this social pressure of like, that's not what guys do at the business meeting. And it's like, it's just an interesting, like, tell like how fragile we really are.
Yeah.
It's
and almost like how we don't want to stick up for it.
Yeah. Ourselves, or so like, I'd rather maybe like, I'm not going to make this healthy choice because I'm trying to impress somebody or want them to think of me a certain way, when it's like,
yeah. When I went out with people and nobody knew I was doing this healthy eating, and so I'd meet girlfriends, and I would say, you know what, I'm going to get a salad, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm learning to eat healthy, and I'm just learning to eat. So I'm going to have them make the salad a certain way, and they'd be like, are you sure it's okay? Are you sure you don't want? But I would tell them right up front, you know what, and then right away. Like the first 2 weeks I went out with a girlfriend, she said, you don't need it and stuff. And I said, wait until I start feeling healthier and I take off some of this weight. And then you'll see that I will look healthier and I will feel better. And so people I would tell them saying, I'm not telling people about it and stuff like this, but I just want to let you know I wanted to meet with you. Yeah. But I am going to eat.
Yeah. Healthy. It is interesting when you tell somebody like, hey, I'm doing this program, or I'm, making these changes. Oftentimes like, well, you don't need it. And it's like, they're just coming through this like one-dimensional assumption that like you're coming from a place of self-loathing, or that you don't like how you look. But it's like, no, actually I'm doing this because there's other reasons why I'm doing this. And it isn't just because I'm dissatisfied with how I look. That might not even be part of the equation. It's like, I want to take these steps to becoming a healthier version of myself, or I'm going to take care of myself by doing this. And
when I was a compulsive overeater, I went to, and there again, from when I was on the 700 Club, that clip, that the doctor had even said to me, the way I eat, I should weigh over 300 pounds because I didn't have a stop, and I didn't feel full even when I ate what was more than humanly possible and stuff. So, But I got so tired of the mind part about thinking about food and the control it had. So I found a counselor. I was living in Chicago, and I found a counselor, and he, his thing was eating disorder. So I went in and I sat down. He said, "What are you here for?" And I said, "I'm a compulsive overeater." And his response is, "Well, you know what? Let's talk and let me decide. I think you probably have it wrong." And I thought I should have walked out then, because I thought, I'm trying to tell you what's going on here and how I'm tired of the control it has. And just because my body didn't reflect, I got up to 210 pounds. And just because my body didn't reflect how much I ate, and I never went back to him again. But I think that was the part, is that I don't think people realize that the control that food has on you, and how all of a sudden your friends you're all eating a lot, and you're joking about how you're overweight and how you get to this age and how there's menopause and how it's okay. We're all like that, and there's jokes and there's memes. And all of a sudden you realize is that none of us are happy with the way we look. And so all of a sudden my girlfriends are looking at me going, we're all like the same age, the same weight and stuff. And they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm going, "I learned how to eat. And all of a sudden they're going, "Give me the information. Give me the information. Give me." And
yeah. Now I've sat down with like 7 of them.
I know it. And because they're going, and last week we were at a Halloween or a Valentine dance. And we're sitting at this table, and we had charcuterie, and they put stuff on there, and I'm eating stuff. And so they're all at the table with me. And they're going, "This is refreshing for us to see that we are going to be able to eat."
Yeah, that there's a day where like, hey, I don't just have to eat protein, vegetables,
and fruit. And I said,
totally.
"You would." And then one of them, Maria said, she said, well, Maria, she said, "You know what?" She said, "You're our inspiration." She said, "We're watching you going, the way you look, the way you feel. You're the one that keeps us going too, because that's what we're achieving." Well, my neighbor next door started. She's looking out the window, and yesterday, she said, "You look so young. You look 20 years younger." Okay, so I have to watch what I eat, because if I walk out the door, she's going to notice if I gain weight. And all these other girls are watching. So we took a picture at the dance of us. I said, "Let's take a picture of us, what we look like now, because pretty soon we're all going to look, And it shocked me when when I saw the pictures, and I thought, I guess I didn't realize I looked that good, which sounds weird, but I thought, I looked at that going, that looks okay. Whereas before I always stood behind people and all this, and I thought, this is okay,
Well, I think that's like one of these like hacks. It's funny you brought that up, because if you're trying to achieve anything in life, I think the like cheat code is to find a community who's going to run alongside you with that.
Yes.
And I had heard, again, one of those statistics on the internet that like, who knows if there's actually a research that shows this, but I'm gonna perpetuate the here it goes. But it's like, I think it's like, if your parents were overweight, you're 40% more likely to also be overweight. If your friend group was overweight, you're like 170% more likely to be overweight. Wow. And so it's like, but the converse is also true, that like, so it's like who you surround yourself with has, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so the fact that you've rallied this little crew.
We were, it's funny. We're looking at that, and I would sit and look thinking we're all okay with how we look. We're all sending these memes and stuff. And then when I start taking off the weight, and then they're kind of going, it isn't okay.
Yeah.
And how we feel and just everything. So it's been nice. So I'm texting them every morning, finding out how they weighed in, how they did stuff, and stuff. And I thought, this is so awesome that people are lifting each other up instead of accepting, what is.
If you're enjoying this podcast and would like to learn more about what you can do at home to take control of your health, check out our book. It's an Amazon bestseller. It's called Fear No Food. It's written by myself and Dr. Abood. You can get it at fearnofoodbook.com, or you can find it on Amazon by just typing in Fear No Food, Dan Lemoyne.
We just gave Dr. Abood and I just spoke at a group out in the East Valley, in like an active adult living kind of community, and it's a community service group. And the whole kind of talk was on just like, hey, like as you're in the back half of your life, like this vessel, like you're in this community service league. The paradox is like you're just, if you don't care for yourself, you can't serve anybody else. Eventually, like diabetes or the chronic disease treadmill starts to hit you, and then all you're doing is focusing on yourself, trying to get well and trying to manage sickness. And I think it's just beautiful. Like I'm just inspired when I look at this list of things that you're up to: missions trips to Haiti, helping people with their, careers,
I went to Africa.
Yeah,
I'm going again in June.
Okay. What are you doing in Africa?
Well, in Africa, I'm going and working, and I'm staying along quite a while. And I'm going to Malawi, which is the third poorest country in the world. And I don't think we can understand what poor is, And so our church goes there, and my pastor's dad started the African Bible College in Liberia and Malawi and then another place. And so they have a African Bible College there. We stay there. We put together a vacation Bible school, and our church has it the week before we leave, like till Friday, and then all the kids leave their shirts there, the different colored ones, and we take those with for our vacation Bible school there, so they're all wearing. So my grandkids were they're 7-year-old twins, and they were in vacation Bible school, and they left their shirts there. So I took a picture of the kids that were wearing that color shirts. I took a group picture, and it was so fun seeing them going, oh, look I know that's my shirt. I recognize it. And it, who knows if it was, but they were so excited to be able to share. And then we go into the prisons and we work with the widows because they can get married when they're 13. And so the guy may be 60, she's 13 when they get married. She has kids. And, but basically what we do is we just love on all the kids, and we go into the village, which is just like a big plot of land where they hang out all day. And then there's houses on the outskirts, but if one of the people asks you to go to their homes, you can. So I went, one girl said, do you guys really eat mice? And she said, we do. Do you want to taste one? I went, yeah.
What?
And so what they do is they catch the mice.
Was that on your list, your bioscan list? Or
no.
As a protein, approved protein?
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, because what they do is they now remember, they're so poor. So they, like, one of the questions they asked us there is, why are Americans so fat? And I said sugar. We had interpreters, but they catch the mice and they dry them out, and they eat them like that: tail, fur, head, everything. So I went over to the house, and they had the mice, and they took a bite, and they laughed at me. They videotaped me going, and then I broke it in half and tasted it. It tasted like liver, and I don't like liver. But I knew it was an honor to be there. And then, like, they catch minnows and they dry them out and they eat them just like that. And so I ate the fish, and it tasted like smoked fish and was actually very good. And then they eat, they take corn and they just take it off, and then they have it milled, which our church build buildings where they mill it, and they pay someone from the village to do it, and they pay a minimal, and they put that in hot water over the fire, and when it gets real thick, they eat it in balls, and that's what most people eat all day, and that's usually it. Just sema, and they love it. I mean, not salt on it, nothing, but so I keep in touch with a lot of them. One lady, when I left, she works at the Vacation Bible School. She's from there. She took out her earrings, her favorite pair, and gave them to me. And then when they went last year, I didn't go. She sent a gift home for me.
Wow.
And she had a keychain made with my name on out of wood from there. And so I keep in touch with a lot of them. And so I'm going back there to just do whatever.
I love it.
Yeah.
I want to be like Sandy when I grow up.
Oh, no.
I mean, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you're helping the homeless, you're traveling around the world, you're a motivational speaker. You still do motivational speaking?
You know what? I do it every other week. And what I do is when I work with the homeless, I kind of got out of it, and then I guess started doubting my ability. Moving here was
You began doubting your ability?
Yeah, I moved from Nashville to here, and I didn't know anybody, and it was the hardest move of my entire life. It was very, I had such a rich life there, and just I had never lived where it was brown, and I didn't realize how much I thrived in green, which the zoo is very good for me because it's all green. I have a membership there. Okay. And I live 8 minutes from there, so It works great. And so I started doubting what I was capable of when I moved here. It was, the first years were real, real hard. And then I was working with the homeless on Saturday mornings, and they asked me, if somebody would give a Bible study and then do prayer, and they asked me once, would you do it because you were a speaker? And I said, okay. Well, I do stories, real life stories, and then I bring in some Bible, and then I do a prayer. And then as I did it and got up there, and then people were like, oh my gosh, sometimes I don't want to come, but I have to hear that. You need to put it out during the week. You need to do this. And so I've been doing that, and it's been, and it feels good because I'm seeing how it's helping people, how it's changing people, how it's getting them to think outside of themselves. So if I do speaking again, I would like to do it on, like when I did it before, when you're on a stage by yourself, that's a performance. So I did speaking for St. Jude. And when I went there once on a Tuesday, and I checked the sound system and stuff, and they said, do you want to be up on the stage? Or there were all these round tables and people were going to be sitting at, or do you want us to bring all the stuff down? And I went, I want it down. And that's when I thought, I'm not a performer. I want to be, and I want to throw out my one-liners, and I want to be personal because that's my gift. And that's, I think, what sets me apart from a lot of other people. And it's hard to do those side things when you're performing something you've perfected. And so it's just a performance. So would I want to do it if I could talk about, my thing right now is if I could talk about people loving other people in spite of who they voted for, in spite of what they do, in spite of, whereas we're so divided now. We're just so, and there's so much hate. And I think if I could talk about anything, I would talk about love, just love, just wherever you go, just love on people.
Yeah. If you definitely walk that walk, from what I can tell.
Well, I try.
Yeah.
I've been gifted though. I mean, it just isn't me. I always think if people can say, I was at the Goldfield Ghost Town, and when I was leaving, I had my 2 grandchildren. I said to a guy, could you take a picture of us with this in the background? He said, older guy, older than me. And he said, you're a Christian. And I said, I am. And he said, I can tell, I can feel it. And I said, real laid back guy, and I said, thanks, and then he took a picture, and I said, are you from around here? And he said, I'm from Chicago. And so I said, can I take a picture with you? So I got his name. He said, look me up on Facebook. So I did. And he's the head of evangelism at Wheaton College in Chicago.
Yeah.
So I put the story up. I put it on Facebook, and it just kind of let people know that who you are is everywhere. And so when I hear that, like when he said that to me, what I hear God saying is keep doing what you're doing. And when people go, you're so good at speaking, God's going, keep doing what you're doing. You're showing me, you're showing up, Cool. So then I get a call from somebody at church, and they said, you met that guy? He taught with our pastor. I said, what? He said, I called Palmer, and I said, Palmer, she met this guy, and he said, I taught with him. So then when I was in church, Palmer said, take a picture of us and put it on Facebook or send it to him. Wow. So it's funny because you don't realize that by your demeanor that they can feel if you're grounded in love. And I would say that God, Jesus, he's all about love. I mean, if people say you love, well, if they say that, what they're saying is, I see Jesus. Yeah. And you're like, okay, God, I'll keep doing what I'm doing, even when sometimes it seems like it doesn't amount to
Has your faith informed at all, or have you codified a theology of body, or has it informed food? I mean, because you've done this emotional work around compulsive eating, and you've been through our program and many other programs. What's the relationship there for you?
I would say that being here, and you helped a lot because I know that of your faith, and that helps me too. Knowing that this is built on faith, and very important. And I would say what I do now that's so different is that a lot of times if I feel like eating, I will stop and I will say, you know what, Jesus, help me on this, because if I overeat, I'm saying that there's something that's more important than you right now. And I'm kind of pushing you to the side. So I would say that, that I've always heard how my body's a temple. And I always thought, well, it's just a bigger temple, which is better, But that really isn't what it means. It doesn't mean the bigger the temple, the bigger you love Jesus. Okay. So I think I realize now that if I don't keep my temple healthy, I will be concentrating on going to the doctor, on being on meds, on doing all that stuff. And if you think about that, it really is a disservice to my faith, because I don't have the energy and I don't have the time and I don't have to spread Jesus' love. I'm so busy trying to undo what I did about me, about self. So there again, self gets in the way. Whereas I think now a lot of times I find that I'm sitting more. I'm sitting without a TV, I may have music like just music in the background without someone singing. And I love worship music, but a lot of times just that background, that peace, and just concentrating on how I just feel like I have more to give now. Just because I'm not thinking about, when you're overweight and you're eating horribly, you're thinking about it, whether you want to or not. You're thinking about how uncomfortable you are. You're thinking about subconsciously, you're thinking about when you go out, what you're going to wear. I mean, I've traveled a lot, but what I would do is people would say to me my whole life, are you packed? No, I'm not packed. Why wasn't I packed? How do you tell people I don't know until that day what's going to fit me? And so I'm packing that day, trying on clothes, going, oh no, this isn't comfortable. So I'm packing what fit that day. So I was in Minnesota 2 weeks ago. I went on a cruise in January. I was in Minnesota for Christmas. I could pack ahead of time. I got excited about what I was going to be wearing, because to pack, I could do that ahead of time and actually have it done because I knew it was going to fit. So it wasn't that thing. And the more I worried about if it was going to fit, the more I ate. So when I started here, they said, do you have an event coming up? I said, I do. November. I said, in 3 months, I'm going on a cruise, but I'm not event motivated. It works against me. If I'm looking for something, I was in a wedding once, got the dress a size smaller, ate more than I've ever eaten till the day. I'm not event motivated. Tell me I have to lose it and I'm not going to. So that's where I go back to saying, that's why I did it for me this time. So it was like, I'm going to learn how to eat, and I'm going to feel good for me for the first time my whole life. And I think that by learning to eat, whereas I think most other programs, they work with you to lose the weight, but you don't learn how to eat. So you can go there and you can starve, and then you can go weigh in, and then you can go out and eat after, which I did on Weight Watchers. I always went and had tater tots and whatever, because I didn't weigh in for another week. And I think this is a whole different thing, that this is for life for the first time. And I've never had anything sustainable. Everything was like, it was so weird during that 40 days going, never once did I think, when I go to the next stage, and I had lost all my weight in those 40 days, I never thought, when I get off of this, I'm going to eat. There wasn't anything I craved that I knew I was going to eat. Every other time it was like, I'm going to eat. And not only did I eat it, I ate it nonstop. So I didn't even taste it. And this wasn't like I was looking forward to eating something. Yeah. I felt so good and so satisfied. So I think a lot of it is more than even how you look. Oh, yeah. And that to me was so different for me, going, I never hurt. You know, I'm not swollen. I'm not, my family all has arthritis. My fingers hurt maybe once a year. And when I eat a lot, they'll swell up, and I'll have inflammation to bend my fingers, even though they don't really hurt, but they're inflamed. I don't have that anymore.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah. And so there again, so simple. Yeah. It's stuff I could have controlled, but you have to learn.
Something you said there kind of reminds me of like the author James Clear, who writes about habits, and he just talks about this like identity-based habit versus like this external habit of like just a vanity metric of like, I want to bench 300 pounds, or it's like, rather than that being my goal, it's like, no, I'm the type of person who goes to the gym consistently, or like I'm doing this for me. It seems like the motivation was a little bit deeper than just I'm going on a cruise in October, right? Because and I don't think there's anything wrong with using that to the extent it's helpful, but I think for most folks, that's just not. It doesn't work long term. It might help you,
till get to that point.
And then what? Right.
I had a girlfriend that was in a wedding and she joined Weight Watchers. Her daughter was getting married and she got so thin and she looked so good. And now I see her and she's back to how I knew her before.
Yeah.
So basically what we do is we lose the weight for pictures.
Yeah.
If you think about it. I mean, you might as well get Photoshop and just have them Photoshop you anyway.
Yeah. And, you mentioned some of these things, these like the kind of that you're constantly thinking about when you're living life in an overweight body. You're constantly thinking about untucking your shirt. Or am I going to be able to am I going to be able to fit in that seat? Like all of this like noise. Yet people live their whole lives that way. Do you have any insight as to like how to harness that to take change? Is it just a matter of understanding that there is hope and that you can beat it? Or
what I would say is that I would tell everybody to get a coach. I remember asking Zig Ziglar years ago when I was the president of NSA. I went to a meeting in Florida and I asked him, he did the services on Sunday, the Christian services.
Oh.
And I said to him, what advice would you give me? And he said, get a coach. I said, I am a coach. He said, yeah, well, Michael Jordan's a good basketball player and his coach isn't as good as him, but he needs a coach.
Yeah.
And he said, Tiger Woods needs a coach. And I went, oh my gosh, I thought that I would look as a failure if I got a coach because I am a coach. We can't coach ourselves. I can tell everybody what's wrong with their life, but I can't take care of mine. It's like that. So I got a coach. So I would tell people, it's just such a mindset when people are like, I'm going to stop eating. I'm going to stop eating carbs. I'm going to start. There's so much more in here that they have to, kind of unwind going, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I have to kind of think about why I'm doing it. What am I covering up? What am I doing? And another thing is, I'm going to tell you again, that's huge. Do I know how to eat? And all my girlfriends that are coming here said the same thing when I say to people, I didn't know how to eat. And they said, we don't either. And you're like, it's so embarrassing to say at first, except it frees everybody else. When you come out and say, I did it because I didn't know how to eat. I learned how to eat for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
And
it's really easy to get there because there's so much noise around this is good, that is bad, this is bad, this is good. And it's like, I just try to stay off of social media half the time because I see stuff that's like, oh, now I can't eat broccoli because it's too high in oxalates. It's like, please, and I feel like I would put myself in the expert category and it still gets confusing at times. Where you're like, all right, I guess I'll just have an ice cube then, as long as it's filtered water. And you're just like, man, what are you supposed to do? But
I used to say when I was on a diet, I was going to have evaporated milk and donut holes.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing there, But you're right. It's like, and the thing is too, I think the thing that I learned is I listen to my body. So I have shrimp 5 days a week. I was at the food bank one day and all of a sudden I thought, I need red meat. I need something red meat. I know I can feel it. So I went and grabbed one of the big hot dogs from Costco and I went and warmed it up in the microwave and I ate it. I was set for the rest of the day.
Wow.
But it was really weird how somebody said, are you eating that hot dog like that? And I said, yeah. And once I finished, I thought, so it's just and I would say one of the things is coming here is becoming aware. It's like, you know what? Should I have a hot dog? I don't know, but my body said I needed it. And I think of all the other things I would have eaten and stuck in my face if I didn't have that hot dog.
Yeah, and just being more intuitive to like, what's my body asking for?
Yep.
Yeah. I think you said something that rings true. I was speaking with an individual just yesterday. He's like, we had a consultation on Monday. He wanted a couple of days to kind of think about it. And we spoke yesterday and he was like, let's do this. He's like, I was actually ready to just say, stop being lazy. I'm going to do it myself. He's like, I went to put on my suit and I couldn't put my suit on. And it's like, no. And I think there's like, yes, you can. Many folks will do it and they lose it for the wedding and they get the pictures taken and then it comes back. And it's like, we can in 60 days help reskill your mind and your body to truly have this tool set that can last you the rest of your life and save you all of this headache of eating donut holes and evaporating milk just to get into a dress and then having it come back on. And
I think what's good here too is that that the coaches follow up. We'll give you a call when they know that you're at a certain place. There's that knowing, there's that accountability.
Sure.
Which when you're doing this, and you talk about that guy saying I can do it myself. I got to be this age with the extra weight on because I was always doing it by myself, and I was always starting the next day. If I got a bag of candy, if I ate the whole thing that night, I was starting the next day. Well, I did half of it. I ate the whole bag.
Yeah, totally.
And then I didn't do it again, when all of a sudden you realize that you need to be accountable to someone, and you need to say, I screwed up because I did this, help me.
Or have the coach. It's like, it's okay. I think fortunately it's becoming more and more okay to say like, hey, I need help in a certain area of my life, or I've got to, to say you go to therapy or you have a counselor or different things. But yeah, I mean, I think that was similar to what you brought up about Michael Jordan. It's like working with the Phoenix Suns, and you're like, these guys are already the top of the top, but they all submit to having these coaches who arguably aren't as good of athletes as them, but they're going to them for like, hey, I want to become the best of the best of the best. I submit to like,
and that is my area of expertise. When I was a speaker once, I remember speaking in Lewiston, Idaho, and I had to speak to everybody in the hospital over a 7-day period and do these 5.5-hour seminars. And I remember somebody saying to me when I got there, aren't you nervous because you're going to have a lot of doctors there? And I said, you know what? Ask those doctors to stand up here for 5.5 hours and see how nervous they get. That's not, my gift is not being a doctor, and theirs is not being up here talking.
Yeah.
Am I nervous speaking to them? No, because I have stuff that they can learn. And you know what? I did that, and that was probably 25 years ago. I'm still in touch with a lady that was in the audience. We write to each other. She lives in Washington. And she came up to me after and said, I feel like you were my best friend, and I was up there, and it was just you and I talking this whole time. Yeah. We're still in touch with each other.
That's awesome. Well, Sandy, thank you so much for coming on. I'm just constantly inspired. If I wasn't inspired before, I'm even more inspired just getting a little bit more of your story and just living this life of faith and following that thread of wherever God leads you. And just been, So
really, he led me here. Obviously.
Yeah, it's been an honor to walk alongside you on this journey so far.
I love coming in. That's why when they say, do you want to do it virtually? I'm like, what? I don't see anybody. Then I want to walk in. So I love when I walk in and the person behind there is their face lights up, and I feel honored. So good. No, you're doing a good job.
Is there any place that you'd want people to kind of find out more about you or connect with you on?
Well, you know what? My email is sjgrif2002@yahoo.com. If they want to get in touch there, or I'm on Facebook, Sandy Griffin, and I'm on, and I have quite a following there, and I'm on Instagram. So any of those places,
Wonderful.
I'd love it.
Awesome.